it'll show you what's happening around you. So as you place things in a mix, let me get my profiles, here we go. All right, this is a really cheesy, unaffected, it's not cheesy, but it's unaffected, bless you. Come back, where are you?
That sounded real.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Sounded like it was in the room. Sounded like it came right from where Emma was sitting.
Let me make sure this is actually, yes it is. So this is a acoustic band, 3 people, and you're kind of sitting in the middle of rehearsal. In essence, there's a couple people over here and here, but I'll grab the vocalist and we'll kind of move him through the room a little bit, and you'll kind of hear what's happening as he's singing. What happens is we get a panner, which is this guy here, and as we take it and we can literally drag it through the room and go anywhere with it, you'll see over there where it's hitting in the room as I'm kind of just moving it around. And so we want to come
Is the little head there, is that representative of you?
center room listening?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
I mean,
cool.
you're further back,
A little bit,
unfortunately,
yeah.
but yeah. And then we can kind of grab this and turn it a little better so you can see. And then let's see. So all the little points are a point of audio. So there's guitars, the vocals will come in, he's sitting center.
Missing decision when you know you ain't got nothing left.
So,
When the good times never stay and the shit feels always seem to be. When will we fall down? When will we fall? When will we fall down? They jump back, gotta get out of here. Been too long this time. They jump back, gotta get out of here. When will we fall down?
kind of just moves him around and does space coherence to kind of find a location in the room. But the cool thing is, if we were to print this and we were doing a movie theater, it would hold the exact place of the theater
Just
from what
one
we designed here.
reputation
And
she
you can get a
can't
system
bend.
up to, I think it's 156 speakers. So if you ever walk into a theater and you see the bunch in the ceiling and on the side walls, that's an Atmos system, and it's probably going to be pretty wild as ships come over your shoulder and flying across.
When will we fall? When will we fall down? They drop back, gotta get out of here. Been too long.
And you can automate that, obviously, and do everything else. I just kind of leave them sit for the time being. So it's just a quick little, hey, demo, this is what happens.
So would you hear a similar thing with any audio device, or do you need Adobe Atmos on something else?
So as it's mixing like this, you need the renderer, but as soon as I've got it automated, I'm done. I'm like, yep, this is my mix. We hit render through there, and it will just download a file. So if I should be able to do this.
Doesn't Audition have a similar feature to this?
I don't know, because I've been out of Audition for quite a while. I know Logic has a renderer built into it. Some manufacturers are putting the renderer into their files. And almost every program will do 5.1. Some will even do 7.1. But it's a matter of, let's see here. It's a matter of, if they've got the actual renderer.
You won't just hear glass break.
So this
You'll hear a slightly battered and bruised baseball.
is an actual just little movie that's downloaded. So if you don't have an Atmos playback engine, it will just play back in stereo, and it will really sound unimpressive. But if you have an Atmos renderer, or if you have a 5.1 renderer, it will automatically play back to whatever system you have. So since I'm running through an Atmos renderer, it'll play it in Atmos.
I'll fly past your
And it's
right
just a
ear
thing you can download.
as a cloud
as
of
a
debris
file.
blooms and shards of glass trail overhead.
But it's all been saved, all that information.
Just before gravity
Switch.
takes hold, scattering chaos to the four corners of the room. While the sound of a scared little kid running like hell fades away in the distance.
So, yeah, once you've got it, it can be rendered down to anything and just play.
So the file that it exports, would it just be like an MP3 or WAV?
So I can export an MP4. I can export an MP3. It's an M2T file is what is all of the information as one package. And so there are certain streaming, especially for like audio. Spotify won't do it, but like Amazon Music or I can never remember the other one, Tidal, they will play Atmos files, and so you can pop on headphones and listen to Atmos music. And I've found out very quickly there are good and really bad engineers mixing in Atmos, and if you get a good one, it's amazing what they can do to the sound field. And it's just a different way of listening to music. It's not straight stereo, but they're not just like, oh, I'm going to put this behind your head to freak you out and all this. They're just kind of widening it and giving it some additional spaciousness, which is really amazing. But, you know, for movies, for games, for anything like that, you all out, the sky's the limit, literally.
Yeah.
You can bring stuff over your head and whatever.
Do you foresee providers like Spotify and Apple Music implementing and using
Apple
Atmos?
Music's trying to do their own. Of course they are. So they don't. It's like a mirror of Atmos almost, but it's Apple. So I don't know how that's going to play out in the future. But they're trying to do their own thing. And Spotify, I have no idea why they haven't yet, but they haven't. So it's, you know, you can, a lot of other places you can get HD files, you can get Atmos files and all this other stuff. Spotify won't do it yet, so I don't know. I imagine at some point they're going to have to.
Could it be due to their download system, how you're able to download music for offline? So it might be troublesome to try to download
Maybe.
an Atmos file.
It could be. I mean, and unfortunately that's beyond what I know, but it very easily might be. So it's, I'm sure they're working on it, because it would be really, as this progresses forward, yeah, it would be really dumb not to. And if you know, like I said, if you downloaded a movie and watched it, there are Dolby Atmos sound bars you can get now for your home, and they'll decode it, which is really funny because they like fire sound at the ceiling and it aims and hits back down at you, so that's suddenly your over speaker comes that way, and it's all time aligned to release sound the appropriate way to make it work right. Or you can set up a huge speaker system and just go all out. So, but yeah, so this is kind of where we're at and what they've blessed us with here to really work on some cool stuff.
It's cool. Also with Atmos, I know a unique selling point is the amount of detail you can get in location, but is there also an increase in detail in the sound itself? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. Man, that's a hard answer. There is a difference in audio quality. I'm not going to say better or worse. And is it more detailed? I don't know, because you can get some pretty amazing imagery out of all the sound just in general, but to be able to put it around you, yeah, it's definitely to keep that, not to get too geeky and way out on the line. To do that detail out of two speakers sitting in front of you is fine, but when I actually make the sound emanate from, you know, this point in the room right here, okay, that's taking a lot of work from like two different speakers plus another speaker on the side, and they're like imaging it. They're like, we're gonna create it and it's gonna hit right here, and oh, it sounds like it's right here, and it's still really clear and amazing, not all messed up and mangled because it's coming from different places. That's a pretty incredible feat, and so to brag that it's still that kind of detail is well worth what they've done.
Nice.
So yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Cool.
So cool. No other questions? We can move on.
Oh, I did have one more
Yeah.
question. Sorry. To record for Atmos, I would imagine you need a specific microphone to record that would.
So funny, yes and no. So like that sound, like that session that we just did with the band is just a bunch of music tracks, and we took them and we put them in the panner. So now I'm taking that track that you would normally have and just putting it somewhere in the room.
Okay.
There are sound field microphones that pick up in multiple directions, and they usually have like 4, some of them have 7 outputs from a single microphone, and those are designed to capture live, so that I would just have those 7 tracks or those 4 tracks, and it would experience the entire room around me, and then I could place it and it would just do its own magic. So you know, it's pretty wild. And more to the fact of, besides Atmos, especially in games, I think it's working with a lot now too, is sound stabilization, so that as the sound is all the way around me, but as I move, it stays all the way around me. And they've got technology now that as I move, the sound stays in place, even though it's all the way around me. So it's even more realistic, so that, you know, as I turn, the bird that's over there is still over there, not suddenly over here. So really cool VR stuff happening.
Cool.
All right. So lastly, this is ISO B, and we do a lot of the Foley work, we do a lot of them all in general. And it's really nice that we have windows everywhere, but we can also kind of black out. This is our Studio A, and so Studio A ISO booth here, as you'll kind of see if you step forward, we have our brand new. You guys making it loud in there? We were making it loud in there, we sure were. Really quick step in and kind of take a look. He's in the middle of class, but this is our brand new audio console. And just like in Studio C, we have several speakers that we can audition and listen through. We can pull audio from the live room. We're going to go take a look at the live room in a moment. And they're all working and learning in here, but again, several screens so we can see everywhere that needs to happen. Okay?
Perfect.
Let's meander this way for a second. Just so you know what else happens down here, because there's some really pretty stuff.
Is this where people can reserve times with an engineer?
Yes.
Okay.
They can A, B, or C. And so literally once we've established, I mean, you could email me and we can set up sessions, whatever, but the classes that we're trying to get, they have access to all three studios, and they can be like, I want to reserve Studio B and work with an engineer to do whatever they're going to do, or reserve Studio C. You can reserve any of them.
Okay, perfect.
So, and you know, they'll, if there's a class in there, obviously you can't reserve at that time. And I would really like for this to hold, but it's not going to, because it's a really heavy door.
Brian, we got to print out the line art for this room. Bring it here.
So it's fun. I mean, all the rooms, all the studios, even this, we can kind of do mood lighting. Obviously, get dim, like change colors. You can totally do whatever. We've got pianos and basses and guitars and instruments, keyboards and all of that. ISO booths to kind of separate drums and things like that. The other really wild thing in here is we actually have a full-on live sound system that's flown, so our live audio students can bring in consoles, plug here, and do what we call virtual sound checks, which are multi-tracks of a concert, and they literally come back to every channel, and so they can remix the concert at full volume through PA. So kind of insane what we can do. We haven't found the remote to be able to shut that window yet, but we're trying. But like I said, if Studio A were booked and you couldn't work and you needed this room, you can look straight through and see Studio C. So again, we can tag every room to every studio and work that way. So it's pretty wild. And again, when you were asking about the walls, that wall is all isolation. This wall is all hard wall, and then we've got audio dispersion on the back, so like literally you can get almost any type of sound in here that you're looking for. So kind of crazy.
Is this room accessible to anybody who reserves time?
Yes, absolutely. So, and that's the thing, when you reserve time, you want to reserve a studio, but if you needed to do like Foley or something like that, or you needed to record something, you need an additional room with it, and you can do that. I've got some people that have reserved the live room, Studio A, and ISO A, you know, as a full package, doing a band all night or whatever. So, which is to say, if you had a band and you wanted to come in and record, you could do that. So,
So it'd be at least two people, right?
yes.
So you need somebody in here and then somebody. Okay.
well,
and
no,
probably.
you need, your engineer would be there, and we've got assistant engineers that perform. But yeah, if you were doing whatever and you needed, you know, whatever, you're like, I need to create sounds for something. You can sit and work with the engineer in the studio, but if it came time to, hey, we need to do some Foley or whatever else, we need to be talking, yeah, you need a second person or something like that to jump in and do that.
Okay.
Cool.
It's probably the coolest looking room on a whole on our whole
Our
campus.
whole campus,
Yeah.
yeah, it's pretty amazing. So
I like that window opener. Just
Yeah.
just look in and see what's going on down here, you know? Especially Thursday nights, because that class has a band in here every night, so it's wild. Yeah. So yeah, just everything can be done.
Perfect.
So there are even, and just to tell you how crazy this was actually thought out, there are like microphone inputs in the closets in here. There's actually in the stairwell outside, if you like walk in the building at some point from down here by the dock, look to your right and you'll see a little input pad, kind of like those there on the wall, because we can put drums or run something out into the hallway because it sounds cooler out there and record it in here. So the other really wild thing is we haven't done it yet, but we have everything's open to do it. We're connected to everywhere on campus, so if there was a concert and wanted for more, we could actually record it in here while it was going on over there. So if there was something happening somewhere, you're like, hey, I need this sound, but it only happens over here. And you can find a way to get it to here. So
Oh,
that's kinda
nice.
cool.
That is cool.
Yeah, that's us and our whole new wild department that is really, we're loving it. So.
Cool. Thank you, Casey.
Absolutely.
I have a scenario workflow I was hoping you could walk us through.
Sure.
So I'd imagine a lot of our students want to do some sort of Foley or voice acting. So to make this happen, they'd go to the registration computer, and then
That actually won't register anything for you. That's just where you can kind of see where everything is
Okay.
booked and what's happening.
okay,
Web checkout. So
Web
once they know what classes you've told the media center can access the studios, then you would go into web checkout and you would come in and be like, okay, I want to reserve Studio A, and you would check it and it would put it in a shopping cart for you, and you're like, oh, I also want the live room because I'm going to need to do something in there. You would check that, put it in your shopping cart, and then go to check out, and it's like, okay, when do you want to do your reservation? You select the day and the time that you want all of that, and they'll put it through, send you an email, and you're good to go.
okay. Have you guys used web checkout? Anybody not used it? Okay, cool. A good amount of people. So
So that's something we should probably show them at some point. You're familiar with it, right?
nope.
No, not at all. Oh my gosh.
It's not that hard.
It's not that hard, but I don't have a computer here to show you, or one that's on.
If it's not hard, we could do it when we go back
Yeah,
upstairs.
I would say if you can show them and kind of just like,
I mean, I've done it to just check out like
yeah.
equipment, but
You can
I'm,
check, yeah, and
I'm,
that's
I'm
the
assuming
biggest
it's
thing
more or
is-
less the same for like stuff like this. So.
Yeah, you can check out equipment, and if you had to check out a camera, or if you needed to check out a little audio recorder,
Yeah.
you go
Okay.
into web checkout and you can reserve that.
We game design majors don't have a whole lot of access
Right.
to some of the equipment that we can actually check out. So I'm not. Do we
Okay.
have full access to this stuff?
If they've been giving it yet, we had that meeting with FTVP
Okay.
and they gave us a whole list
Well,
of classes that
regardless,
they're
it'll be a good chance to check out what we do have access to.
Yeah.
and we-
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, and it varies. So, like, if you're in different classes, some of those classes may have access to other things. So it's like when I open up web checkout, I can see everything because I'm
Right.
a teacher. But like some students can only see so much or whatever else. But there's a thing that says media center, or then it says lab studio times.
Yep.
Okay.
Media center is just for checking out equipment.
Yeah.
Lab studio times gets you into these spaces, and you literally, when you go in, you see a picture of each room.
Okay.
And it's like, oh, Studio A, it says Studio A, and then, oh, live room, and you click on it, and it just
Okay.
says reserve, one of these type, and you click reserve. And
Okay,
yeah,
that's really helpful.
So, definitely. And if it goes awry today, let me know, and I'll show you at a later point how to get through it, and you can show that.
Okay.
All that. But yeah, so it's all access through web checkout, and then you reserve it. And if it's like, if the studio's booked, it'll come up and say, nope, can't happen, there's a conflict, or whatever else. I'm not going to bag and talk badly about IT and their lack of getting us software that we need, but there's no real easy way to see at the moment
What is
what
available?
all's booked.
Yeah.
There's a little clock on, like, next to where it says Studio A. You click on it, and then it's like, here, you can reserve this studio. And if you look up by the picture, there's like this little itty bitty clock, and you click on it, and it shows this like dumb timeline of like, you have to scroll through, and you're like, oh wait, this is the 17th and then like a little block will show up, and you're like, oh, it's booked there, is that what that means? And it's really horrible to see what's booked when.
I'm pretty sure it's the same way with checking out equipment.
Yeah.
It is just like just one long strip
Yes.
as opposed to like anything that makes
Exactly.
sense.
And so we've got a whole calendar system we've requested and in place, and it's been about 6 weeks now, so we still don't have it. But we're working on it. So
Okay.
Join us in our march against IT.
I mean, we're gonna
no, it's
plug 'em.
being recorded. But but yeah,
We'll cut
there's some
that out.
frustrations. Yeah, we'll edit that part out. There are a couple little frustrations. Yeah.
What room would you say you would want to rent out for recording Foley specifically?
Any room, quite honestly. They do most of their Foley work in ISO booth B, which is connected to Studio B, which is a pretty good sized room for doing whatever. But we've got Foley pits and things like that that they can bring out and do stuff with also. But if you wanted, like the larger sounding something in a huge room space, and the fact that we've got mics hanging way up in the air that can get really reverberant space, you can do it in here too. So it's a matter of creativity and what you're looking for. If it's just an ISO booth that's open, it's absolutely fine. Unless for some reason you had to have this room. So, but you could do it in any.
Okay. Is there already a microphone attached to the tribe? I don't know what to call
Nope.
it.
To the mic stands,
To
you'll
the mic
notice there's
stand,
mic stands in just about every room, and there's a bunch more over here. They're also in the ISO booths, but no, we don't leave the mics out.
Okay.
That's why the engineers are here and can get everything going. And
Okay.
That's why if there's not an engineer on duty, you actually can't book time. It won't let you book time. So if you can book time, there will be an engineer here that can take care of your needs and everything else. And there's usually an assistant engineer too to help out with all the running and doing and grabbing things and stuff like that.
Okay.
So,
Cool.
yeah.
Will it be pretty easy to identify who the engineer is once the student checks
Oh yeah,
out?
absolutely. And they know once the engineers know when their time's booked and when their session's going on, so they'll be looking for you. Now, you should have access once you can book these rooms. You should have access to the outer doors. Nobody except engineers have access to the inner doors, so you can come in and kind of start looking through windows if you don't see the engineer right away and be like, But if you reserve Studio C and you just head that direction, they're going to be there waiting for you. So, or like Brandon was, just hanging out in there, playing and doing stuff, and you're like, "Are you the engineer?" Yes.
Okay.
So yeah, it's way simple. It's not like we're spread out all over campus. We're going to be right here. So. Yeah.
Cool.
Cool. Any other questions?
No questions? Okay, round of applause for Casey, everybody. Thank you so much for showing us, Casey.
By all means, email me if you need to use it. If you don't have access, email me. But then, you can yell at Matt and he'll yell at the media
There you go.
center and they'll get you all in.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think for some of this you will need an approval. So yeah, if you guys want to get access to something that says you need approval, just email me. We'll get it happening.
Yeah, absolutely. We got all kinds of stuff happening. The music department's been over here